Well, for more on the PIC Commission report that was released last night, I'm joined in studio by my colleague who was covering the vast majority of those hearings last year, Glorious Sefako-Musi. Thanks very much, Glorious, for joining us. So it's a very damning report, particularly around the executives at the PIC, Dan Machila and Matepo More. Tell us more.
It is really scathing towards especially the former CEO, Dr. Dan Machila. The kind of things they're using words like unethical. They're actually calling for the PIC to look into whether he can be held personally liable to some of the decisions, the conduct that he's accused of having been, the way he conducted himself in terms of some of the transactions that the PIC got into. We had during the hearings of the public hearings of the commission that especially during the IO technology deal that at some point he was on leave where he had to now come back from leave to come and facilitate meetings to make sure that this deal went through. Despite the kind of issues that the staff was raising, we understand that there was not even enough money for the PIC to cover this deal, but he issued an instruction that shares should be sold. I understand the Anglo shares were sold so that there could be enough money to cover this transaction. We know now that where the transaction is in terms of PIC invested about 4.3 billion rand, buying 29% of IO technology when it was initially listing, and we know now that those figures were highly inflated. We heard from executives from IO Technology that numbers were massaged so that they could reach an evaluation of about 13 billion of this company. But what surprises you will be like the PIC has highly educated staff members. Why wouldn't they see that? You know, so that's why the commission, I guess, is saying that this should be. I mean, authorities and other regulators should be brought in to check as to whether some people could be held liable for
just to jump into what you're saying about, you know, bright people being part of the organization, but also the report seems to suggest that there was an element of bullying and overriding, you know, people's advice and so on by the executives. You'll remember there was a chap called Victor Siani. He was a junior person in the scheme of things, and he advised that the AO deal should not go ahead, but his testimony at the time was that they just ignored him.
Yeah, we had a number of PIC employees at the hearings that said that it didn't really matter, like if you fell out of favor with the executive. They said actually power rested in two most powerful people, the CEO and the CFO. Yeah. So if you fell out of power with that, there could be consequences. So I guess you kind of do as you're told so that you keep your job, I guess, or you're not frustrated out of your job. We heard that despite some objections sometimes in some of the transactions, you would find that transactions still went ahead. In the IO technology especially, we heard that Machila seemed rather eager for the transaction to go through. We had also in the Sagamatha deal where the transaction could have gone through, but it was stopped by the JSE refusing its listing because of understanding issues of compliance with the Companies Act. But that was already a done deal. It was signed despite objections of the value of the shares that were being on offer.
We'd like to apologize to our viewers for the interruption with the lighting. We have just been attacked by load shedding, but we're going to proceed nonetheless, so we have light. So broadly, of course, it's 1,000 pages. We haven't read those 1,000 pages, but we have an idea of what's come out of the report. Just tell us what some of the recommendations are that seek to ensure that the PIC is better run going forward.
I think one of the issues is that of the recommendations that I've read that I think will go a long way is ensuring that processes are followed. Because in most of these transactions that are questionable, processes, standard procedures were not followed. There's a I'm going to go back to the IO technology again.
No problem.
Where we understand that before the deal could go to a committee where it was supposed to be looked at and assessed, it was already signed. The recommendations along those lines is that there should be strict processes that ensures that proper procedures are followed.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing. We've already seen that the minister, when they announced the new board, that they've removed the kind of political element in terms of the chair of the board. We know now it's Royal Cause. It's no longer the deputy finance minister as it was before. So those are, I think it will really, I think, put, I guess, pensioners at ease, knowing that processes will be followed. There won't be kind of bullying, victimization of staff, and I guess things, will
look brighter. Thanks very much, Glorious, for your time.